Every single woman I know, including myself, feels generally uncomfortable about having needs and expressing those needs in the form of boundaries within their relationships and to their partners. While we think we're doing the noble thing or being nice, not rocking the boat, we're actually really disserving the relationship, our partners, and ourselves by doing this. So the question is, why? Why is this the case for women? Why do we do this? So I'm going to look at that and give you a tool to help us start breaking this pattern, because it does not serve. Before we dive in, please show your appreciation by hitting that like button. And if you want more content like this regularly, just go ahead and subscribe and hit the alert bell. I have a woman in my life who's going through this very lesson right now, and she, bless her sweet soul, is learning it hardcore, where she's going through a divorce and she's seeing how in all of her past relationships with men, how freaking accommodating she's been, and how she literally has not felt like she could need anything. She's a very independent woman. She's always been self-reliant, has always had her own money, her own thing going, etc. So she didn't actually really need anything physical from them. But she did have, emotional needs or preferences or, liking, like affection, liking affection in a relationship, things like that, which are not unfounded, not out of this world, right? But the thing is she never allowed herself to actually call that a need and create space for it in the relationship. And by not doing that, she created an environment where she would accommodate for her partner at the expense of these needs being met. But because she wasn't acknowledging them herself, she couldn't advocate for them. She didn't know or think even, realize even, to bring it up in conversation and say, hey, this is something that I need. She didn't even feel within her body or her being that there was even space for that. So now as she's going through the breakup, all of these things are being illuminated and coming to light. And it's been a really big come to Jesus moment for her. And now she's stepping into the energy of no more accommodating, and I do have needs. So she's finally listening to what needs she does have, whether it's in social dancing, whether it's in friendship, whether it's in driving, whether it's in the idea or hope of a future partner. It's like no more. Like she's very much in tune with the things that she needs, and she's giving space for them to breathe and live, and developing the courage to speak them out loud to everyone, in a loving and kind way. But it's really changing her relationship with herself and the relationship she has with the world. And she's really stepping into her power in a whole new way. So why do we do this? Why is it so hard for women to feel comfortable acknowledging our needs and sharing them and expressing them? Well, it's no surprise that it exists within our body and our nervous systems, the underlying beliefs and patterns that it is unsafe in some capacity to do so. When you look back on history, it would not be safe, right? Like you abide, like your livelihood, your societal position, whether you have a roof over your head, whether you can feed yourself, whether you can take care of your kids, all of that depended. I mean, we were so dependent on our male partners for that. If we stepped out of line and risked that in any way, like there's a lot at stake here. So there's no surprise whatsoever to me that we have this instinct knee-jerk reaction that it's not safe, something bad will happen, I don't want to rock the boat, I don't want to dive into unpredictability. It's just in us. Like the learned behavior passed down from woman to woman to woman, it gets in our DNA, it changes our body, it changes the way our brains function. It is in us. And while we may think this is something in the past, I see this in the most independent, strong, badass women of the world. This woman whose story I just told you included. So it's not about, we're not physically dependent on men anymore, and so therefore these patterns and these beliefs and these instincts just disappear. It doesn't happen that quickly. So what I'm saying is this is showing us this behavior, this what I keep hearing from women, this selfishness, feeling selfish or demanding or, uncomfortable or mean. That is telling us that this all in our subconscious, is still there and it needs to be worked out. So how can we start breaking this pattern? Well, I'll give you one tool to start with, and that is paying attention to the moment. So first, we have to develop awareness that this is actually happening, which means we have to develop more of an awareness and connection to our feelings and the feelings that arise when these moments come in, right? When we feel like there's something we want to express or a need we want to share or a boundary we need to put in place, but we're not doing it. We feel ourselves hold back. We may not even feel that. All we may feel is just a fear or a discomfort or anger, reactivity, resentment. So paying attention to the feelings can clue us into the moment, and we can ask ourselves, oh, is this that? Is this what's happening? The next step is to follow those feelings and try to really understand and get to the bottom of the behavior and the pattern that's at play. If you need help understanding how to do this, you can go grab my free class. I'll link it in the description below, which takes you through this process. For example, one that's come up for me is the feeling of the silencing and the quieting myself, like being very aware that I'm doing that. And then also that can lead to frustration for me and anger and reactivity. So it started out as being silent and quiet, and then noticing that, wow, I'm getting really reactive whenever this topic comes up. For me, the underlying belief in there was that it was somehow my job or duty or responsibility to make sure that my partner was happy and content. And if that meant that I had to stop doing whatever I was doing in order to create that happiness and contentment within him, fine. I would never have believed that as a modern, independent, free woman, I had this pattern running through me, but I did. The next step is to boil it down to a very clear choice point. Once you have that nugget, then you can distill it down to, okay, I've got a choice in this moment. Do I choose to believe story A, which is it's my job and my responsibility to make sure that he's happy at the expense of living my own life? Okay, that's a very clear choice point. Or do I choose a new reality? The reality which I would like to believe, the reality I want to step into, which is it is safe for me to live my own life. I deserve to live my own life and make my own choices, and I deserve to have a partner who's going to honor that. When I boiled it down to that very clear choice point, the choice is obvious. But this degree of clarity really helps you see how kind of ridiculous the other one is, and it can give us the courage to make that difficult choice, because it can be difficult. If there's a lot of feelings, it doesn't mean that fear just goes away. It's in the nervous system. So it's about acting and moving forward with story B, even though those feelings still may be there, and that takes courage. And having that clarity of, well, the only other option is to go back to story A, which is ridiculous, so that's not an option. So my only path forward is to do the uncomfortable thing. But it can instill a sense of courage in order to do that and make that step. Now, we may experience kickback when we express a need or a boundary. That very well may happen because in relationships, usually what happens is we're paired in such a way that we tend to push against each other's limitations in order to shed light on the parts of ourselves that are not yet integrated, and then integrate those aspects of ourselves so we become a more loving person, right? So when we come up against those limitations, it's going to be uncomfortable for our partners. It's going to be uncomfortable for us. For example, my need of needing to go out and be more independent or whatever, or in this particular case, it was to dance socially, bumps up against his super anxious attachment and fear of abandonment because he thinks I'm going to go out and meet someone. Well, it serves him to expand beyond that. And my expressing my need and my boundary helps him expand beyond that. But that may be really uncomfortable for him. He may have to, get some help. He may have to sit with it. It may take some time for him to go through that. But I need to let him go through that. Me staying silent on my boundary, me staying silent on my need doesn't serve either of us, because I end up staying stuck in resentment land and not living my authentic self, and he's not growing. And then that whole thing of not connecting there, not growing, not expanding, that's going to deaden our connection. So it does not serve the relationship for me to stay silent about that. So when there's kickback, allow kickback to happen. We have to get comfortable with kickback happening. We have to reorient our minds from believing that it's something bad or we're failing in the relationship to this is growth. And this is why it's really important to have a partner who can also recognize that and is willing and ready to go on that growth journey with you. The last thing I want to mention is the need for clarity. Think about if you're co-creating a relationship, you're building a house with someone, right? And our guys, the masculine polarity of the relationship, they need a blueprint. They need rules. They want to know, what it takes to make you happy. They want to know what's in your vision so that they can make that a reality. And if we are withholding the blueprints, if we're disconnected from our own feelings, and if we're not acknowledging the needs that we have and everything, then there's nothing on our blueprint. We have nothing to give them. So then they have to go out and build some kind of house. So they're just going to build whatever suits them, right? And we're going to end up living in a house that doesn't suit us. They want that blueprint. Now they may kick back and say, now wait, can we really afford the bay window here? I mean, come on. But those blueprints bring clarity and confidence to his role and our role, and helps us both create the house of the relationship that suits both of us. I hope you found this helpful. If you want to show some appreciation, give this video a like. You can also subscribe and hit the alert bell if you want to get notified when new content comes out. In the meantime, if you want to get started trying to understand what those beliefs and needs are, again, head to my free class. I'll link it in the description below, and check out any of my other videos on boundaries as well. Until next time, be bold, be beautiful, and be brave. See you then.